just any phones and devices in the house, other accounts. Let's just be more proactive, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You turned into a passive-aggressive retail manager there.
Yeah.
Guys, can we please do this? Sometimes a rooibos.
It smells great.
It
smells very good.
It's funny because when it's really hot, you don't always want a hot drink. Yeah. But there's something so deep.
They say it cools you down. They're always like, well, in Saudi Arabia and Abu Dhabi, they drink hot tea in the middle of the day, and I'm like, well,
I think apparently that's what the custom of drinking hot tea in hot weather predates the fridge. Yeah, that's why. Cold drinks do cool you down, but I do believe that a hot drink, although initially raises your body temperature, I think then does lower it a little bit.
Because it activates the body to go into a cooling mode.
I believe so. Whereas if you drink cold drinks, isn't there an argument where it's like you're telling your body to warm itself up? But you know what? It tastes nice and it feels nice.
Feels
but for a hot drink,
when you drink something really cold and you've got an empty stomach and it like fills the lining of your stomach. You ever had that? And it like that coldness wraps around your
like an indigestion advert.
Yeah,
it's like
literally.
You feel it acting.
the heartburn. And that's when I'm really aware that I'm like a sack of flesh and organs. Because you don't, obviously in my day-to-day I don't think about that. But actually, there's all sorts going on that I don't control.
Do you also feel, I feel so mechanical when I'm like, when you just feel a little bit like, I feel tired, a bit off, and then you have like a massive glass of water and you immediately feel better. And you're like, I'm basically a plant that can talk. I'm an organism. I forget that I am just organic matter.
Yeah, I said this before we recorded. I think human beings do need to photosynthesize.
I mean, I'm sure there's biologists screaming that that's completely incorrect,
it's
right?
the wrong term.
We need exposure to sunlight. Of course we do.
Yeah,
and the
feel
vitamins and the things like that.
Sure, I'm not creating food, but like vitamin D. And
what's the process of photosynthesis in reverse is
creating carbon.
Yes, but it's
in reverse. Yeah, you take oxygen.
Let's not go down this road. We don't know what we're talking about.
My GCSEs were a long time ago. Back in the day, I could have written, the photosynthesis equation.
Yeah, me too.
C6H12, whatever it was.
Yeah. So I've had something interesting happen to me the other day. Well, not happened to me. I noticed something interesting. So I might have mentioned like the other week that I am commuting to a different location for work at the moment. It's a different office out in Stratford, which is a pretty commute if you're coming from Southwest London like me.
DLR?
No.
Overground?
No. I'm actually benefiting from the Lizzie line, which is really great.
Great, nice.
At last. I got to Stratford and I got off and I saw a poster for a film. And I looked at it and went, cool. And then I did a double take. And I went, that can't be right. What? And I looked at it and it's an advert. It's a poster for a film. Yeah. A Keira Knightley film.
Okay.
But do you remember the Keira Knightley film, The Aftermath?
Ooh.
Needless to say, James, the poster for this film came out 4.5 years ago.
And it's still there.
It's still there. The poster is still there for The Aftermath. This film came out in January 2019.
And it's just there.
Keira Knightley, Alexander Skarsgård, Jason Clarke, called The Aftermath, and it's there, a little bit faded, but it's still there. And I was looking at it, I was like,
that can happen.
Unbelievable. That's just, and it's prime location.
Yeah.
4.5 years.
I saw the same thing with the poster for the film The Imitation Game, also with Keira Knightley, but it was Benedict Cumberbatch's slightly like confused face. I just remember because it's quite a striking poster and it had all like the stars. Oh my God.
And it was there for ages.
It was there for ages. I was like,
where? Which station?
Oh, I don't know the station, just on the underground.
But like, I'm like, in a way, great value for money. Whoever paid for that advert,
you pay for the time on the assumption that something else is coming behind it.
How many eyeballs are looking at that? But you can't even say, it was because of COVID or anything. Do you know what my assumption is that someone lost the keys to open the cabinet to change the poster, or it broke off in it and they went, oh God, it'll cost us too much to get a new frame. So what we're going to do is give free advertising to what I've heard is a very poor Keira Knightley film that in perpetuity now, like a museum piece, will just be there.
Maybe it will get a resurgence with Londoners on the Elizabeth line. Just like, The Aftermath, check that out.
Maybe, if you track the date of commuters on the Lizzie line going home and renting The Aftermath.
We should just drill in like a locked frame of Pulp Kitchen, me and you, just like let it sit there for years.
Yeah. Long.
Not that we could afford it, but I think it would be good for us to do tube advertising.
Not
like,
that we could afford it. Of course we can't afford it. Do you know how much expensive
I know,
that
I'm
is?
sure it's hundreds, millions even. But like, I think like commuters, Londoners seeing us, and I've never seen a podcast advertised.
Sorry, I say that. I see adverts on the tube, on the the big tube ones, and I'm like, that's got a tube advert. You know, like Adventures at Warwick Castle, and the Szechuan dancers from
like Jack
China.
Daniels. I get it.
Yeah, I get it. But like for some sort of like revival gathering of a niche group of people, like the Tall Ships Festival, TSF. You going to TSF this year? Oh, I'm going to TSF. I love the Tall Ships Festival.
Yeah. I'm
going to get myself a little bit of Cutty Sark, the Victory.
I like to, when they put the festival lineups for like wireless, and it starts with like the headliner. It's like the Killers, and it's like a little free eye test. And then you look down, it's like the blah blah blah, the blah blah, and then it's like.
Okay, put this on. And can you tell me who's performing on the alternative stage at 2:00? It looks like the Claxons. Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I enjoy those.
So a movie poster that should have long been taken down, just there. And I'm wondering if people have what's the oldest film poster you've seen still up? Is it is there a movie poster for Ang Lee's Hulk?
Yeah,
2003,
just rotting, like peeled off.
I want to say on the side of the cinema
abandoned blockbuster
in North Wales.
We should do movie poster review. Like we should choose some really good and really bad movie posters. And
I'd love to do that.
That's cool, and because a lot of them are the same style.
I'd love to. I love movie posters design. We could do that. It's very visual.
Old ones. Yes, it is very visual. That's
but
true.
we also you see these two cameras here, James. We do films podcasts.
I must say, last week when I was editing the show, towards the very end, the emails and the games, the sky behind you
Beautiful.
was outstanding.
Stunning. Outshone me.
And it usually, like for the start of the podcast, as you'll see now in George's shot, the sky is blowing out because I'm not being precious about this. I'm not exposing for the sky in you. Get out of here. But when the sun goes down in this sort of coming towards the end of the summer, there's this thing where your face and the sky are very nicely exposed. And it was purple and orange.
It was wonderful. You and me arguing about whether or not Luke's arm or hand was cut off with just the most angelic golden hour setting.
Guys, if you're just listening, flick on the video.
This video is sponsored by God, who will be delivering the weather today. Welcome to episode
10%
90.
Off.
Welcome to episode 90 of the show.
Coming out of a lifetime now. Getting towards the end of commenting on, well, this is the stage of life when. This
is just, big numbers.
90.
This is your nan's age.
Yeah.
I don't mean your nan, but I mean one's nan.
One's nan. Well, it depends on what age you are now when your parents had kids.
It's August. I hope everyone's having a nice summer.
Hot day today.
It is hot. It's beautiful sunshine. We've been undersunned this summer in Britain, and today it was a bit of a schwitz. I must say, you and I got the tube back here, the Northern Line, in August on a 27-degree day.
Patches on my back, and I was like, yeah.
Unfortunately, there were. I was wearing a rucksack, and I was like, no.
Did a little walk to Mornington Crescent. We're out there in London, guys. We're out there. Sometimes we walk together.
I don't want to toot our own horn here, James, but when we were sat on the platform of Mornington Crescent, schwitzing.
Yeah.
There was a tube that came that we weren't going to get because it was going to the wrong destination, right? And there was, I want to say, 3 16-year-old girls on there. And I was talking to you, but I looked up and I did see them sort of staring at me.
Oh, yeah, the prolonged stare.
And then I saw them chatting between themselves and gesturing in our motion. And I was
really?
Like, they're one of the few people who we don't hang out in the wild that often.
No,
we don't travel that
often.
We
see you all the time.
We do see each other all the time, but we don't travel with each other. No. So to actually catch us in the wild together, it's like a rare Pokemon.
Yeah, we're actually, not to sound wanky, we're usually seeing each other for like screenings, premieres, other work,
official
like
business.
official Pop Kitchen business. Yeah. And I wonder if we were to hang out, it'd be fun to get recognised as a pair. We'd be more likely to get recognised as a pair.
Oh, do you know, it'd be awful.
What?
If they were like, oh, are you George from Pop Kitchen? That's it's so cool, mate. Yeah. And you are?
Yeah. What do you do?
Are you have a podcast as well?
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's really good.
Cool, yeah.
That's really great. Anyway, George. But yes, episode 90. We've got a little quick film review today. Like I said, it is August.
Yeah.
And then we've got, obviously, lots of emails to read through. We'll have lots of fun with them. And some good games.
Blue Beetle, the bluest of beetles.
Yeah, the Blue Beetle, where I look at the poster and I see the trailer and I go, surely not.
I'm going to get onto it.
Surely not. We're not doing that film, are we? Still in 2023.
We are. It's worth discussing.
Yes.
It's an inflection point of cinema.
Infraction point.
Inflection.
What's an inflection point? Isn't an infraction point a point of,
Is inflection like
your voice?
Yeah, it's infraction.
I think it's an infraction point.
Infraction sounds like you've got an infraction on your card.
No, that's a minor infraction, or like a military disciplinary thing.
Yeah,
that's a minor infraction, sir.
Whereas it's an inflection of my own voice.
No, inflection I associate with your voice. He lilted his voice with a minor inflection of sadness. I think you're thinking of reflection.
No, that's like part of it. The flexion.
What are words? Let's do Blue Beetle.
So as we were saying before, Blue Beetle, I think off air, and maybe a little bit on air, has between us been a poster child for a lot of what gives us the ick about not just superhero films, but modern commercial studio cinema. I think for me, it represents a lot. In the build-up, I'm going to talk about the film later. I think it represents a lot of like the immense oversaturation and useless commissioning of IP that I worried didn't have anything to say. It's also part of this in-between phase of DC where, you know, we had The Flash a couple of months ago. We've been told that James Gunn is setting up this new thing, and we're being asked to care about a film that's maybe is or maybe isn't going to be a part of this new series. And at one point, at one side, I'm like, why should I care about this thing that's not going to be a part of your greater franchise? But I'm also like, is that what it's come to? Can a film not just come out and be good? Does it have to be leading to its own Avengers-style team-up? Can I not just actually enjoy a film? And I've not heard of Blue Beetle before, George.
Never.
No, couldn't tell you a thing about it, never seen it, never heard it, never encountered it, never cartoon.
He never played with John Paul, George, or Ringo.
No. And am I fair to saying that from the marketing...
humouring me there.
Yeah. And am I fair to say that from the marketing, it looked like it skewed maybe a little bit younger, like not necessarily for what I would call the wider comic book audience as a whole, which I think quite successfully spans kids to teenagers to young adults to sometimes like older millennials.
This seems to be pitched like a Miss Marvel kind of level teen.
Yeah.
Teen.
And so I'm wondering, well, I think all of the great superhero films work for everyone. Why sort of shift for this younger audience in Blue Beetle?
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that statement. Sorry to interrupt.
No, please. Let's have the conversation.
The Batman, that film doesn't work for everyone.
No.
Joker, I don't like it, but a lot of people do.
Yeah, I like Joker.
I don't think you can say that. I think a film should just work. It can't. A good film really can't work for everyone. And I don't think it's not a kids film. I think great kids films work for everyone.
Yeah.
But I don't think a superhero film. I think superhero films actually have become compromised trying to work for everyone. Anyway, sorry. Carry on.
In comes Blue Beetle, which stars Zolo Maraduena. And I apologize if I'm getting pronunciation wrong. Who plays Jaime Reyes, who is sort of young. He's just got himself a pre-law degree. And he's...
Pre-law?
Yeah, that's what they said in the film. I don't know how that works.
America.
I think you probably have to then go and get like a separate qualification. I just call it like a law
You're
degree.
pre-law. This is no good.
Pre-law.
You need to go do that in your post-law.
Yeah, it's kind of like how you get a law degree, but then you go on to here, you'd go on to do like the...
I will stop interrupting.
Yeah, that's fine. And he's thinking, well, surely, you know, as someone with a law degree, I can get walked into any job with all the... Anyone would be desperate to have me. You know, I'm bright. I'm going to take my family, it's the first Latino superhero story, which I think is quite cool, but I'll get on to sort of the representation of the family, which I found a little bit sort of simplistic and maybe contrived. But, you know, he's like, I can take my family he's like a sort of third generation immigrant. I want to take them and lift them out of poverty. We live in this fictional town where there's like massive technology and wealth and high rises, but there's also, you know, very low quality housing where like a lot of like some immigrant families live, and that's where he finds himself, and he wants to be this lawyer who lifts his family out of that situation. And he dreams of one day we're going to have a really big house, when actually he works for a hotel company that cleans massive mansions for other people. Through some sort of mishap, he winds up interacting with Jenny Cord, who is one of the people who is part of this massive conglomerate played by Bruna Marquezine. Again, apologies. And through some sort of mistake, ends up with MacGuffin Blue Beetle that he's told to take and hide if he wants to keep his job. Obviously, he ends up looking at it. It is a sort of large scarab-like thing that's this ancient technology that latches onto his back and sinks itself into his skin. Nice. And from that gives him this sort of like spawning exoskeleton with high technology inside, a sort of Jarvis-esque AI voice that sort of goes, testing, altitude, flying, emergency armored response initiated.
Right.
And Susan Sarandon plays Victoria Cord, who is part of one of the more evil corpos trying to get this technology back.
And how much do you think the check was for her to be in this?
I saw the casting and I was like, kind of random.
Yeah,
like,
it is random. Random Susan Sarandon.
Yeah, just like random Susan Sarandon's there. You got George Lopez in there as well, Belissa Escobedo. And look, this is my problem with the film. As a film, I actually think it's okay. I think it's fine. The problem is, I just thought it had so little to say. And so watching this, you know what? In a vacuum, I think Blue Beetle is actually more fun and more interesting. But I just think around the 30, 40 shows and films, I just go like, I'm sorry, there's nothing in it that I think is really new.
Yeah.
I really
haven't seen in previous
that we haven't seen before. Interactions, I found the actual, like, if I'm trying to channel my inner 7-year-old here, and I'm thinking, what's cool about this? Like, what fighty, punchy thing? The suit, like, takes over and actually does a lot of the fighting for Jaime automatically.
Yeah.
And so the fight scenes were never really that interesting because he's inside this thing which is controlling everything.
So no jeopardy.
Like, there wasn't really a sense of jeopardy. Like, sort of towards the end, it hits this note, and I think, this whole thing about it being about family and these people really feeling a connection is kind of there. I really don't think it was interesting enough or different enough for me to be latching on. I was watching it and my mind was really wandering. I was thinking about what I'm going to have for dinner. I was thinking about a thing I need to send off, an email, because I don't feel like the film gave me anything to do, anything to figure out. I can tell.
Just so highly processed food.
Yeah.
It's all liquidized.
The look of it is a little bit whatever. I don't find like the aesthetic and the world it creates that intriguing. It references Batman. Is that the Batman we've had? If so, it doesn't look like it lives in the Zack Snyder Batman. Yeah. So I'm just like confused. At least with the bad Marvel stuff, I know what I should have seen to keep up. With the DC stuff, I don't even know what I'm meant to have watched to look into it. And I don't want to rail on it. I don't think it's terrible. I'm just like, you start thinking, these guys, and I know I'm slanging off Marvel as well, and it's not a Marvel property, they really just are running these things into the ground. They spin the wheel. What IP have we got
inevitable
to show?
Isn't it?
It's boring.
Yeah.
It's boring.
Boring Beetle.
Boring Beetle.
I can't say I'm surprised. You've basically said everything. I bet the cast and everyone who worked on it gave it a
They've got good charisma. They've got a good sort of like energy between them.
It's dead on arrival.
And it didn't make me laugh once.
Yeah.
Like could have had 2 or 3 really good jokes. I was
stone-faced.
And like just to say, we watched Flash, and I know not a lot of people agree with us. I laughed a lot through the Flash.
Yeah.
I was very engaged through the Flash.
Yeah.
I very quickly knew what the characters were trying to do and where they were going and what needed to be done. That was there. Yeah. And I followed it. Great gags, great ending. And I was really rewarded for my attention. This, I was like, all of the sequences and the plot just felt really plodding. And then the representation of the family, I thought, okay, cool, we've got a Latino superhero put with the family on the biggest stage, given a voice. And I actually found the presentation of that family. I'm like, okay, you've done this. Was that the story you're telling? It felt a little bit simplistic and reductive, like about the immigrant story.
Cliche?
Yeah, cliched, if I may say so. I was like, oh, that's the story we're telling about this guy.
You feel like almost like you would have probably thought that up. Yeah. But it should have been thought up in a much more genuine,
Again, like studio commissions.
Yeah, oh dear.
And so, you know what's annoying is that when I think about what I want to say for this film, I'm going to rail into it more because it bored me. Whereas if there was some element that I found interesting, I don't feel like I need to criticize it much because I don't think it's awful. Just very, very generic and very plain. It could be completely lost in the shuffle. And I think that is a shame. And it just makes me, on my walk home from the cinema, I was just scratching my head thinking, the heads of these, Disney overlords, whatever you want to call it. I know Marvel and Disney and DC are different. They really need to learn the art of building your audience's appetite with Star Wars. Like, it doesn't matter.
With Star Wars?
Star Wars, Disney, all of it, Marvel, everything. I'm saying, like, if you have just eaten a massive meal and you're full. It doesn't matter how good a dish I put in front of you, you're not interested.
Yeah.
It's like, rest Star Wars, rest Marvel, rest these things. Let me want to see these types of stories again.
Yeah, they should almost like take turns.
It's just too much. And I know I'm attributing other studio things with this film, but you can't help but look at it and go, is this what we're offering? It's very poor.
Well, if you've seen Blue Beetle, write into hello@popkitchenpodcast.com and let us know your thoughts. I would like to know, I'd be interested to know if anyone had a better time than James out there. Because like I said, unfortunately, you did confirm exactly what I thought by looking at it. It would be interesting to know if anyone disagrees. Again, write in to hello@popkitchenpodcast.com.
If people who are slightly younger or who have younger siblings, kids who had something, who enjoyed it, I really don't think they would.
Do you know what I also think is happening as well? Is that you've had this massive thing with Barbie and Oppenheimer and Mission Impossible in third place.
Yeah.
Because like my parents went to see Mission Impossible like just last week, so it's still running. And it's like everything after that for the summer bill is kind of a moot point. It's kind of like what Blue Beetle has, even though it's coming out 4 weeks after Barbenheimer.
Yeah.
Wouldn't people not only have gone to see Barbie and Oppenheimer, which they still can, they can just go and rewatch it if they want to. Like, that's the competition. Those films were so big that it's actually competing with the reruns of the previous films. So
we get this like monthly superhero scratch card in the cinemas now. It's like there's basically one a month. Is that keeping the cinemas alive? I actually think it probably has a damaging effect where it's like, is that all there is in cinemas now? I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
I just personally, again, I prejudged it. Unfortunately, I was right. But I looked at the whole branding of it, the style, and I just think, I just really don't fancy that at all.
What's the big idea, literally?
Yeah.
What's the big idea?
Yeah.
So what?
So George, on my travels, I finally caught up with Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse.
Right. Yeah, great.
Finally got down to it. It's out on Amazon Prime now. I loved it.
Oh, great. It's good.
That was so good.
Yeah.
I am so in love with the Spider-Verse films.
Yeah.
You totally undersold it.
Yeah.
Wow, what an animation. Just like that, the Spider-Man story that is being told there is so thought-provoking and heartfelt. I loved, I'm going to do very minor spoilers, very minor. I love how much this whole film was, yes, about growing up, but it was about the interactions between parent and child, and father, son, daughter, father, and how important those are, and the way in which it visually shot all of those scenes when it was like Gwen Stacy talking to Captain Stacy, Miles talking to his mom or his dad, and they set them like apart on the screen, and the background sort of fades in and out depending on the emotion. It's just beautiful. Yeah. And then it's so chaotic and hectic, but I'm following it, and it's clear, and it's precise, and it just made me feel something, and it's just, and like all of the shots in it are like all the shots we couldn't ever do with a camera.
No, exactly.
Done.
That's what I love about it.
And it's exactly why you should do an animation. It feels so comic book, and I think the idea of like 5,000 Spider-Men in one universe doesn't sound that fun, but it was done so well. I loved all of the audio and visual Easter eggs.
Yes.
I thought they were brilliant. Yeah. And then on the whole, being part one. Yes. Because it was something that a lot of people commented on, you commented on.
Because you're going into it knowing this, the thing.
And I really went in, thinking like, I'm ready to be part one. I know this is going to hard stop. And I think, in the last 40 minutes, you get a sense for what will have happened and where it's going. And I was actually with it, and I was excited to see how it was going to part one me. And the way in which the last half an hour slowly reveals what's actually happened. The eyes, the iris is widening, the camera zooming in, flicking between different scenes. I was like, this is great. Can't wait. Get me part 2 or part 3. Love it. Cool. I had such a good time.
I'm glad.
Joy-filled.
You made me want to rewatch it. I mean, I liked it. I just had a migraine, but it was... it was
it's a film that on a migraine maybe is a little bit...
In IMAX.
A little bit much. Yeah, oh God, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm really glad. I'm really glad you like that. Shall we read out some emails?
Let's do it. You know when you're watching a film, you're like really smiling?
Yeah.
That's what I had.
So the Lego bit.
I was like, it's so good.
The Andrew Garfield inclusion.
Oh, fantastic. And you won't get it, but the Spider-Man PS4 bit was great with Yuri. Yeah, like they had the whole... So he was playing the game in the beginning, his roommate was, and then they're like Yuri Lowenthal Spider-Man, which is a great. The Insomniac Spider-Man games are fantastic, and he's in there, like that. Oh, it's great, loved it. And then like you hear the voice of Alfred Molina. Hello, Peter. Win? Oh, it's thrown in there like when there's Dr. Octopus references. You know that. Hello, Peter. I think for Spider-Verse 3, right, Tom Holland is going to get a big part in that film.
More than a cameo.
More than a cameo, because they withheld him in 2. They used basically everyone else.
Yeah.
Not used, but like had everyone else show up from the Raimi films to other stuff to the PlayStation. I think Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and he's also on social media been like, I love Spiderverse. I think Spiderverse is the best Spider-Man films. My bet is that he turns up and he's a pretty significant part in fixing the wrongdoings across the Spider-Verse.
Isn't that going to be like some sort of massive wrangling between Sony and Marvel behind the scenes?
Yes, but they're kind of mates now. Like they had the fallout when it was Civil War. No, when it was after the second Homecoming film. And now I think they're quite good at like having things come in, and the Sony film license and the Marvel film license are kind of they understand that they can make loads of money doing this.
So it's like more than a cameo, but less than it's like a guest spot, like you would do like a TV show, and maybe a 10-minute sequence.
Yeah, I think there'll be like a big scene
Minimal
and then another moment.
Yeah.
3 days filming for Tom Holland.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
maybe 2 weeks.
2 weeks. It could be 2 weeks.
A week.
Who knows?
Plus travel.
Yeah. Let's go through some of the emails that we get sent during the week. George, if people wanted to send us an email, you can do by emailing in to hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com. Just
like
Dan did. Dan writes into the show and says, hello, George and James. I'm a new consumer to your podcast, Nectar, while working and living out in Gibraltar. It brings a constant joy listening to your back catalogue of episodes out here, much to my girlfriend's chagrin. I like the word chagrin.
Yeah. I hope she'll be converted, though.
Yes.
Maybe that chagrin will turn into...
Play it on the house speakers. She's fairly new. Guys, if anyone listens to the show, get your partner's phone and just go to us on Spotify.
Yes.
Follow.
Subscribe. Give
5
us the
stars.
5-star rating. Yes, please.
And then just go... just any phones and devices in the house, other accounts. Let's just be more proactive, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You turned into a passive-aggressive retail manager there. Guys, can we please do this?
It's going to get really busy.
Okay, the manager's getting really annoyed. Okay, go.
She's fairly new to film, as I'm trying to indoctrinate her into a wide range of my favourites. I've created a list we are slowly working our way through. But do you have any recommendations, old or new, that I could add to her list? Any genre that might have slipped past me? Keep the episodes coming. Your spark, genuine passion and wit lighten up my days. Dan.
Just go to the IMDb top 250 and just put that on shuffle, basically.
Yeah, that's usually a good shout.
They're a little bit male heavy. That's anything about the top 50, but you will get through some of the obvious classics. I'm
going to quickly choose one from the 250. George, number 1 is
the Shawshank.
Yes, of course it is. Number 2,
Godfather.
Yes. Number 3,
is it? Godfather Part 2. It's Dark Knight.
Dark Knight. 4 is Part 2.
And then 5 is Pulp Fiction. And
5 is 12 Angry Men. Pulp Fiction is 8.
Oh, really? It slipped down. Okay.
Yeah.
Schindler's List in there.
6. Return of the King 7. Pulp Fiction 8. Fellowship of the Ring 9. Number 10. I don't think you'll get it. You know
recent?
No.
Old?
Yeah.
Citizen Kane?
No.
Vertigo?
No. The Bad and the Ugly.
But it's
Forrest Gump at 11. That will ruffle.
But you know what I mean? Like quite male heavy films.
Very. And then you got Fight Club next.
Social Network.
Yeah. I'm gonna choose. It's a Wonderful Life at 21. That's a good one.
A great. You know what? That's a great one to do.
That's a great one
because that's a great story. It's an old film. It's really emotional, but beautifully emotional. You will cry.
Parasite at 35. If she didn't catch Parasite.
Brokeback Mountain, underwatched.
Yeah.
Underseen.
Yep.
Not underseen. It's been watched a lot. Yeah. I mean, under still, regardless of the fact
adjectives.
That it was underappreciated. I still think that film is. I think people. The thing is about Brokeback Mountain as a movie, which I bring up because I saw it on the stage, which I mentioned last week, is that people who haven't seen that film think it is this one type of film over here. And when you watch Brokeback Mountain, you go, "Oh, this film is actually like
sensational."
Sensational, and
deep.
also just different to what I thought it would be, and just not. It's been reduced so many times through pop culture to this
bit of a
gay
meme.
cowboy film.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Gay cowboy. It's a meme. It's a punchline.
No, yeah.
And you watch it, and it's one of the best. It's one of the best love stories.
It's all time
in cinema.
Yeah.
Really beautiful film. Thank you very much. Next email is from Megan, who says, "Hello, Mr. Pulp and Mr. Kitchen." I like that.
Nice. Like
Mr. Blonde, Mr. Pulp, Mr. Kitchen. Well, why do I have to be Mr. Kitchen?
I got my friend. He's going to come in here. His name's Mr. Kitchen.
About that seemed like a fake laugh, but I was genuinely laughing. I did, didn't it?
Yeah. Anyway,
moving on. About a week ago, I stumbled upon your podcast, and I'm now binging it all. So far, up to episode 23, binging it in order.
Yeah.
That's brave. Good for you. And you've been talking a lot about underrated films, and I wanted to throw it in my thoughts. Underrated actor, Lee Pace.
Okay, yeah.
I'd love to hear your thoughts. Oh, well, just on Lee Pace. Yeah, I love Lee Pace and things.
He's currently in The Foundation, which I've heard a first
Science
good
fiction
thing.
series?
Yeah, science fiction based off the Isaac Asimov novel, I think,
Right.
with Jared Harris.
He's got great presence, great voice.
He does like
Threatening.
royal, pious, slightly bellowing, deep. Like he played Thranduil in The Hobbit.
Yes.
That's the first time I saw him.
And
he was
Ronan
actually really
in
good.
Guardians of the Galaxy. But also, again,
he does,
I've mentioned this many times, but he was in that show.
He's really buried under makeup in Guardians, which is a
yeah,
shame
yeah.
if you're Lee
And
Pace.
he comes back
'cause-
for like one scene in Captain Marvel, really randomly.
Yeah, and in the post tease for, you know, when they tease Thanos for the first time, he's like on that moon where Thanos is
No,
there.
I don't
I think
he is.
so. He's
No, I
somewhere
think
around
you're
there.
confusing that with a scene in Guardians. Anyway, he's also in that show which I've talked about before, *Halt and Catch Fire*. He was brilliant. Now that's, you know, him in his John Hamm mode.
Oh, but sorry, I'm starting to hear good things about The Foundation.
Right, good.
It's one of those very expensive looking Apple TV series that had like this really big splash, but like didn't really, no one really paid attention. But I hear season 2 people are like kind of watching it and discussing it.
James, Megan would love to hear our thoughts on her favourite 3 films: *Under the Skin* with Scarlett Johansson, *Incendies* by Denis Villeneuve, which if you haven't seen, I think you will both love. It has the greatest opening scene ever. That must be one of his early ones. I've never heard of that one. And *The Fall* with Lee Pace, directed by Tarsem Singh. I think *The Fall* is the single greatest film showcasing cinematography and colour and scale like no other. The DVD box simply says, David Fincher and Spike Jonze present, screenplay by Dan Gilroy, directed by Tarsem Singh.
That's a lot of names.
Wow. Now, if that isn't incentive to watch, I don't know what it is. The production history behind it is also incredible, possibly an idea for a feature on the pod. Interesting production, stories, troubles from well-known
That'd be
films.
cool.
Just on those 3 films,
I'm ashamed to say I've seen none of them.
I've seen *Under the Skin*, which is, I think you'd find that really interesting.
I'd love to
It's
see
a
it.
really Jonathan Glazer only makes like 1 film every 10 years. He made *Sexy Beast*, which I love, which is great fun. And then *Under the Skin* is this incredibly cryptic, strange science fiction film with Scarlett Johansson as an alien in Glasgow preying on men in like a white van. And the first time I saw it in cinema, I found it, you know, interesting but so cryptic. And then I saw it again about a year later, and I really got more out of it. And I think it's really haunting. There's one scene in it as well. It's really like, oh my God, that's really hard to watch because of it's not an act of violence. It's an implication of an act of violence. Something is done, which means, oh my God, violence will happen off screen now.
Yes, I love
and
that.
That's brilliant. I haven't seen *Incendies* by Denis Villeneuve, but *The Fall* with Lee Pace, that one, the Tarsem Singh one, I have had that on my watch list for a long time. It's just one of those incredibly like random mid-noughties films that just sort of sits in some sort of weird netherscape in the cultural landscape. A lot of people have this, it has this kind of cult following, but it doesn't look like any other film. It's hard to see what it's actually about. It seems kind of like magical realism. I really, really want to see it. I didn't know it was from a screenplay by Dan Gilroy.
I forgot to tell you, by the way. You know, we talk about like we've got so many great films we need to watch or rewatch, but there's never like a normal time to put on that kind of film.
Yeah.
I saw this TikTok about this phenomenon, and this guy was like, "I know how to do it. What you do is you put it in your diary in like 3 months' time. So like you say, I'll never really have that. So but like." That's the day I meant to watch that film. Instead of like waiting for yourself to have the time,
which
you
will
like
happen.
pre-schedule the time to watch the film. I think that's really good.
That's a tenet for life.
And then it's quite exciting because like you put 25 of these in your calendar for the next 2 years. You're like, oh, I've got so many exciting films I just know I'm going to watch. And you put them in the calendar. Obviously,
true.
like you could cancel it, but
I know, which probably happens. But that's actually quite a good idea. Megan goes on to say, I love your podcast. I love the way you talk about films. I'm a long Kermodian, and your podcast fits beautifully alongside the Good Doctor's reviews.
Nice.
And as a total, utter film, IMDb, and weird film fact nerd, I love your games and quizzes. Thank you, Megan. That's very sweet. It won't take very long to binge up to present podcasts, so hopefully I'll hear your thoughts on these films before too long. Megan from Lancaster, currently 124 films watched in 2023 as of August 1st.
That is huge.
Aiming for 250 for the year. I've clocked 225 last year on Letterboxd. That's amazing.
Is insane. You're watching, if you get to 250, you're doing what?
That's
356 days of the year.
It's 52 weeks in a year. So that's probably you're doing
5 a week.
I did in lockdown.
That's
I did
insane.
150 in 2020.
That's good.
That is good. But that's when I had a lot of time, like the world did.
This next one's from Chris, who says, hello, PULP Kitchen. I've only just discovered your podcast, but have now gone back and I'm working my way through your episodes from the start. I just can't get enough of your posh boy accents. I live in Glasgow, so any accent sounds posh to me.
Fair enough.
I write in with a question that I've been grappling with for a while now. What do you think the best true trilogy is? Now, by this I mean a trilogy where there are only 3 films and that's it. No more sequels, prequels, reboots, remakes, or dirty straight-to-DVD cash grabs. I don't count other media such as TV shows, computer games, or graphic novels. This immediately nullifies some favourites such as the original Star Wars trilogy, Lord of the Rings, etc. I do not count spiritual sequels either, so this rules out the likes of the Cornetto trilogy. I'm not sure if there is a perfect true trilogy of what we are left with, but an obvious weak link such as The Godfather Part 3 or Back to the Future Part 2. So I was wondering if you guys could maybe use your film knowledge and help me nail down the best true trilogy of all time. Thanks, Chris, George.
Well, Chris, you are showing yourself to be a new listener because, James, what is my answer going to be?
Well, we did an episode which was titled The Best Trilogy of All Time.
I think so, yeah. And which, of course, is...
Go find out.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, tell them to go, Chris, go and watch the episode.
You're right. Go back. So we posted this in about January. It was a bonus episode.
And for any of others of you who do not know, scroll down on your little feed.
And I really was about to say it then. You got me.
Yeah. And also, we got loads of compliments about that episode.
The only thing is, it is spoiler-filled.
Spoiler-filled, so maybe find out, go and watch.
Yeah.
Come back.
But I think I'm thinking about other trilogies. I'm pretty happy to defend that to the hill. That is pretty solid in terms of consistency of quality across 3 films.
I need like an
consistency
algorithm.
of message, consistency of themes.
Yeah.
Against something like Toy Story had it, but then they made a 4th one.
No, I know. So you've ruled a lot of things out.
Would you put Lord of the Rings in there for you?
Yeah, it's easily.
I think that is yours.
I mean, it is like one of the best. It's a trilogy that really feels like One Piece because it was shot like that. It's very special. It's unlike anything.
Do you think the original Star Wars trilogy works as a trilogy? I don't think it's up there with the greatest, but do you think it
works as a trilogy?
No,
you
go from well, okay, in the way that the new trilogy didn't. You can go from A to B to C.
Yeah, minus a couple of like sister romances and subtle inconsistencies with like Obi-Wan and how the Force works.
Right.
You told me he betrayed and murdered my father.
Yes.
Like a little bit of like we're sort of writing around this.
Okay.
The man I thought was your father became Darth Vader.
Although I haven't seen the 3 Colors trilogy of red, white, and blue, but I believe that's a thematic trilogy, not a. So that probably would also be ruled out.
I feel like I need to get all the films into an algorithm, and then you put your rules in, and we'd only be left with a couple.
But listeners who have been with the show for a while will already know my answer.
But why not have trilogies that have prequels or spin-offs? You can still watch
I guess it's
Star
the idea
Wars
that
without engaging with the prequels or whatever.
I think it's the structure. It's the
cleanliness of it.
Yeah, that's it. That's what you get. You've used it. You can't get a bit more over here. You can't explore these characters. No. That's what you
and
get.
the trilogy we're for some reason not talking about.
You've put an embargo on it. You just stop it. You just
for some reason we're not talking about
because
because you have to check out the episode. There's something to admire about how those films take place years apart.
Yes,
and that they
weren't
still
intended to be a trilogy.
Feel very similar but are different because of how they work through time.
Like that. You're in for a treat, Chris. Yeah. Okay, next email.
All of our old listeners are like,
I've heard
all of this.
I've heard all this before.
Hey.
This next email is from Guy, who writes, "Hello, sirs, long-time listener, second-time contributor. Upon listening to the most recent episode, I was pleasantly surprised to hear you mention the 2012 film Place Beyond the Pines. Yes, this is James talking about how Ken in Barbie, Ryan Gosling as Ken looks like Ryan Gosling in Place Beyond the Pines. You mentioned it as being flawed, as was curious to know what you meant. This is one of my favourite films and sits on the edge of my Hallow's top 5, which include the original Lion King, Drive, The Princess Bride, The Matrix, and Pulp Fiction. Would you care to expand on your thoughts of the film? I find it to be incredibly moving when exploring the very dynamics of the often complex father-son relationship, along with the important lesson of how important of the role of a father is, and to contrast, showing the importance of inherent personalities or soul of a person and how this could drive to oppose a father. I believe this may be a reason why my long-suffering girlfriend and her sister really did not enjoy this film upon watching. Excuse me. I was baffled by this reaction and have spent the odd tube journey here and there trying to figure out why. As always, your insight is welcome. Sirens on our end. Yours, Guy. Now, just quickly, I think if those who haven't seen it, The Place Beyond the Pines, 2012 film with Ryan Gosling in, it is this kind of Greek tragedy structured story
multi-generational.
Multi-generational film, which was a nice surprise when I first watched it. And it begins in what you later realise is the 1980s with Ryan Gosling as a kind of guy on the wrong side of the law, who's a bit of a checkered past. He's a strong, silent type who rides his bike.
Bad boy.
Yeah,
you
bad boy
want to go and
aesthetic.
run away with on a motorbike.
Exactly, and he rides his motorbike at the circus for money, and
Robs
he
banks in his spare time.
But this, he finds out he's got a child.
Oh, fine.
On the way, and he decides to put his excellent motorbike, dirt bike skills into robbing local banks.
Yeah.
The second chapter, that story with Ryan Gosling like grows, and then it suddenly reaches a point, and then the next chapter follows Bradley Cooper in a role I think he's really good in as a police officer.
His first time coming out of The Hangover, I was like, oh, he's an actor.
And doing stuff like that. And then there's a third chapter afterwards, and it's really this kind of marked, storied chapters. I like the film. I've always liked it. I've always
seen it in a while.
I thought it was a really noble effort. When I said it was flawed, I think it's just because that third chapter, I can see the point of it. It's just like it just feels very not very subtle.
I think it's long as well. I think by the time you get to that final act, I was like, oh, this is kind of dragging, and the multi protagonist structure means I'm not sure who I'm meant to be paying attention to. And it's sort of the handover. I think it is a really good film. I found the handover maybe a bit clunky.
Yeah, and I just also find that it's just it gets a little bit, melodramatic in the third with the way the drama is cut.
I will say beautifully shot, beautiful presentation. It's shot by, I might be getting this wrong, I think it's a guy called Sean Bobbitt, who also shot Steve McQueen's Hunger and Shame. And it's just beautiful to look at. I do get sent clips a lot of like really beautiful scenes and riding the bike through the pines.
Yeah, and it's got that tune where it's like dun, dun,
yeah.
Dun, dun,
yes.
It's a really interesting film. I think
great trailer.
Really?
A really beautiful trailer, yes.
And a great Ray Liotta as a supporting actor in it. And Mahershala Ali's in it.
Yeah.
Eva Mendes.
Ben Mendelsohn.
Rose Byrne.
Oh, it's Rose Byrne.
Yeah, Rose Byrne is Bradley Cooper's wife in it, I believe.
Nice, okay, yeah.
Dane DeHaan.
Yeah.
And,
great cast.
Yeah, it's really
I think I've done it as a castless countdown a while ago.
I think you did it with Phil Dunster.
Oh, I did.
Yes. I think he had no idea what that film was. Thank you very much, Guy, for that email.
This next one is from George, who writes...
No, we're going to go back down to do Tommy now to end the...
This last one is from Tommy, who says, "Hi guys, I've been thinking about writing this email for a long time and never had the time or energy. I'm currently in bed buzzing, unable to sleep after delivering a calf by C-section, aka the skylight exit. So I thought, feck it, let's write this. Here we go.
Oh, wow, okay.
As a vet, not some kamikaze farmer with a fetish for cutting pregnant cows open, I spent endless hours traversing the countryside of Ireland, treating the local animals, listening to everything. When a similar film review podcast, who must not be named, went on hiatus, I began looking around for alternatives and found you guys, and God, have you filled a gap and more. An emailer recently described you as cozy, and I have to concur. Do you concur? With what, sir? Do you concur?
Do you get that reference?
I concur.
That's Catch Me If You Can. Of course. Yeah, brilliant.
Do you concur?
I do concur.
I do that in work all the time. Like, do you concur? And like some people aren't, but then other people won't even acknowledge it. They'll go, yeah, I concur. It's a nice little subtle reference. Knowing I get to spend a few hours in your company in an often lonely job driving on my own around country roads gives me that drinking in the pub snug with your mates vibes, which is the antithesis of the often gore-filled exploits of a farm vet. Thanks, lads. You sound like two absolute gents.
Thank you.
Anyway, I'm
prevaricating.
Anyway, I'm prevaricating around the bush with regard to a question. With the release of Oppenheimer, I got a pang of nostalgia for the Christopher Nolan back catalogue. Almost 10 years ago, I was in uni. I just survived a vet ball, hanging out with my arse, sick with a drink, and made the best cinema decision. Go to Interstellar on my own with a hangover. I can't explain fully what a cinema experience that was. I'm not sure if it was a lack of sleep, my excess blood alcohol level, or the quality of the film and score, but I could only describe it like a religious experience. The preface of the film is a space adventure, but quickly realizing by the end of Act 1, this was about grief and loss. My face often mirrored McConaughey's in the watching videos back scene because I myself had lost a sibling in a road accident almost 10 years to the day previously. Oh. The film brought up so much that had happened in that decade that had long since been buried. So when McConaughey watches those videos back from his daughter, those truths of conversation often said in intimate moments at gravesides, recorded and beamed across the universe to a loved one to see 25 years later, it hit me right in the gut. The reconciliation scene in the end is often one I've mulled over, those quiet words of hope and fun that I could share with a lost loved one in the future. Truly one of the best pieces of writing by a master of their craft. I've never felt so seen. Needless to say, the film stayed with me, but for all the right reasons. My question, finally, what is your best cinema experience? Not necessarily the best film, and has a film ever affected you like that? All the love, Tommy. Sent from an iPhone from a colonial rebel with a dodgy reception and a clapped-out Jeep in Cork.
So, that's a great email. Thank you so much.
Really great email. And just on Interstellar, like that, it is a really captivating and magical film. And those moments where, spoilers for Interstellar, it's been a few years, I assume you've seen it. Those moments when he is slamming against the back of the bookcase, begging himself to stop. And then that scene where he sees Murph in her 80s, surrounded by all the family, it's so hard because that is the scene that everyone wishes they could one day do. Everyone wants to be there to see their loved ones right before they go and have that connection and apologize for the things that you were never able to do, everything you were insufficient with. Reconcile the distance you were apart. Yeah. And then let you go off. So I can imagine that was just really special. And I think Interstellar is just brilliant in its own way.
I really do like hearing about people's very profound individual experiences in the cinema, because that's basically what it's all about, isn't it? Really, it's not. I know we sit here week on week and we talk about things that don't quite work in films and things that we like, and review films in a kind of comprehensive way. But really, it's about how it strikes you, like a thunderbolt moment, that, and almost the quality of the film is kind of irrelevant. It's just what gets you.
We're always linking personal experiences and memories to things we see on screen, and you compare and contrast them with your own lived experience and what you would have done.
In terms of what's your best cinema experience, we have answered that question quite a few times, so I'm just going to move on from that, but see previous episodes for examples. But in terms of have I ever had that reaction with a film? I don't think I've had it with a film, but I did have something quite similar in the theatre when I went to see War Horse, right? Which is it kind of took me by surprise. I'd missed War Horse for years. I was meant to go on a school trip, but I ended up having an audition when I was 13, BBC.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Funny enough, James, I didn't get the part.
No shit, because you're here.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't read the book, I didn't see the film, and then it was on at the National again, and I was like, why not? Cheap tickets. And there was something, we were watching it, and I don't know what happened, but in the first act, it was just all the stuff about young men going to war and the sort of the looming sense of the inevitable slaughter of these very young men. And I don't know what it is. It really struck a chord with me. And I think partly because it kind of mirrors a family story in my family on my granddad's side, and I got to the end of the first act and I couldn't speak.
Yeah, War Horse is really tough. And it's a really tough watch.
She turned to me and she was like, "Okay," and I was like, and I had to just remove myself from the theatre. But even now, just thinking about it, that was great experience.
Yeah,
you want to feel it. So I don't begrudge that experience. That was a great thing to have happen.
Yeah, my one's also a massive bummer. Not a cinema experience, but when I'd seen Schindler's List in pieces, just being young and Jewish. You weren't supposed to film. It was only when I was 14 or 15, I was like, no, I should really watch this down in its entirety. And to this day, I've never had such something really bring me down for a prolonged period of time after I've seen it and really make me think. It's such a good film. Yeah. And I think you can hear about statistics, and you can hear about... so many times I don't think this is anyone's fault, for the interest of time, we brush past the incidents that have happened, because to get into it, you have to do it properly. Yeah. And that film really does engage with it properly in a beautiful, stylistic way. And I remember seeing it and be like, oh, wow. Yeah. And then a personal connection as well, also really enhances that. But yes, not to bump anyone out.
No, but it's great. It is. I know I just said it. When stuff like that happens, even though it can feel painful, it makes you feel alive.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's why we do it. That's why we're all here. We're longing for connection, to experience the same joy, pain, sadness.
We are just floating on the other side of a bookcase, merely watching our lives.
I love it. It's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
I think we should leave the emails there for today. But
let's do it.
Thank you very much for writing in, everyone. We will, of course, continue to read them out throughout the
Also,
weeks.
I love Tommy just describing what he's doing when he's listening. That's great. Yeah. Delivering calves by C-section, driving across the Irish countryside.
I also, compared to that kind of work, I couldn't feel less relevant. Yeah. Sitting here, sipping tea, talking about
online
films,
jobs.
Tommy's covered in calf blood and calf placenta. I don't know.
Yeah, I bet there's like real long wellies that go up to the mid thigh.
waders.
Yeah, the waders, overalls, the glove that goes up the arm. Because I see they literally grab it.
I didn't think you were going to say arm there. Yeah, very interesting life. And another member from the Irish contingent, which we're always big fans of.
Guys, thank you so much for sending in your emails today. As always, if you wanted to send an email into the show, you can do by writing into hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com.
James, we end this episode, as we do every time, with some games.
Nice.
And this week, I've got 3 rounds of an old classic. It's one we love to do. It's a fan favourite.
Yep.
It is, of course, the movie opposites.
My favourite.
I've written out some movie opposites for you, James. As we know, quick fire. I'm going to run through them for you.
Antonyms even.
Antonyms at best.
Yeah.
Opposites mostly.
Weird sort of negative association.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some of them are even almost like weird synonyms, but, basically messed up movie titles.
Yeah.
So
I'd like to play them with Daniel Craig in Skyfall. He's all bruised up and unfit.
Don't you mean Casino Royale? No, you mean
Skyfall.
the ice. I know exactly. Skyfall. Skyfall.
It's like M, bitch.
Yeah. Or you're Ryan Gosling and it's like interlinked. When he does in Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah. That's good.
Okay, James. 3 rounds of movie opposites. Are you ready?
Yes, ready.
James, guess the movie from its opposite film title in 3, 2, 1. Cat Night Mid-Morning.
Dog Day. Dog Day, Dog Afternoon.
Dog Day Afternoon.
Dog Afternoon.
Found Salt Woman.
Lost. Pepper.
Searching for Sugar Man. The Women Who Look Away from Cows.
Men Who Stare at Goats.
Yes. Upright.
Downfall. Down left.
Sideways.
Sideways.
Upscaling.
Downsizing.
Yes. Coffee with Mao.
What? Tea with what is it? Tea with
Mussolini. Fromage.
Not cheese, but it would be the opposite of French. What?
Chocolat.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
Polish.
Dirty.
Grease.
Grease.
None This Blues.
Some like it hot. No.
None This Blues.
All the Reds. All
That Jazz.
Yes.
Blues.
Yeah. Okay.
Ring at the Villa.
Knock at the Cabin.
Yes. The Sight of Wood.
The sound of metal.
Yes. Well done. I thought fromage was quite good. Because cheese and chocolate are kind of
chocolate. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Very good. Well done there.
I was like, the
round.
opposite of a French language is
Coffee with Mao. You don't need. I watch a movie called Coffee with Mao.
Yeah.
Okay, are you ready for your second round, James? Here we go.
Okay.
Guess the movie based on its opposite film title in 3, 2, 1. Mundane Man.
Monday or mundane?
Mundane Man.
Exciting woman.
Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman.
The First President.
The Last Servant. The Last
Emperor. Last Emperor.
Okay.
Captive Girl.
Captive Girl. Free Willy. Free Man.
Free guy. Free Willy.
Free guy.
Free guy. The Witch of New Zealand.
The Wizard of Oz.
Well done. Pebble of Minutes.
Stone of Hours. No.
Rock of Ages. Life on the Thames.
Death on the Nile.
Yes. First Day in Shoreditch.
Last Night in Soho.
Yes. The Airline Parents.
The Railway Children.
Yes. Sad Hands.
Happy Feet.
Yes. A Daydream Under Oak Lane.
And The Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yes. That's a good one. I like that. Every single one.
I love it.
That was
good. That was very good. Daydream on Oak Lane.
Which sounds like a film.
When you make
it's like a Nicholas Sparks film. A Daydream Under Oak Lane.
Starring Channing Tatum and Rachel McAdams. When you make them, do you giggle to yourself?
I do a little bit.
I do. I'm cackling.
All of these took me 40 minutes on my commute home.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Are you ready for your last round, James?
Did you get them? Did you get them?
We're having a good gig.
Oh, they're good fun. I feel like if someone watched us, they'd think we're like such fucking nerds.
Yeah.
Like Dungeons and Dragons kids in the corner, like playing. What about this one? Like the Day Oak thing. Sorry.
Okay. James?
Yep.
Guess the movie based on its opposite film title in 3, 2, 1. Dying.
Living.
Yes. Everybody.
No one. Nobody.
Nobody. Marijuana Monkey.
Cocaine Bear.
Yes. He listened.
She said.
Yes. Walk with you.
Walk with you. Run with me. No, catch me if you can.
Stand by me.
Stand by me. Ah.
Skin and nothing. Skin with nothing. Skin and nothing. Skin and nothing.
Skin and nothing. It's something. It's something.
Bones and all.
Ah, okay, that's hard.
Democracy of darkness.
Revolution of night.
Empire of light.
Empire of light.
Do relax, babe.
Oh, do relax, babe.
Don't worry,
darling.
Don't
yes,
worry, darling.
on the tip of my tongue.
Repair Front Valley.
Brokeback Mountain.
Yes. First Easter.
Last Christmas.
And the Queen of Manhattan.
The King of Comedy. No, sorry. The King of
Staten Island.
I don't know. It's on the tip of my tongue. I know what I'm doing wrong.
Oh, I love that.
That was good.
Comedy.
I don't know why. No.
You're tired. You're tired.
Exhausted.
Well done. I'm happy with those.
Such good fun.
I liked He Listened.
She said.
And also, do relax, babe. Good work.
And that was like an opposite to she said. It's like what would never happen.
But also, like thematically, that works with the film. He listened.
Very good. Guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Pulp Kitchen. Don't forget, we post new episodes of the show every single Wednesday.
And continue to follow us and support us on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. Like, subscribe, share it.
Get your partner's phone.
Comment on it and tag a friend who you think should watch this video.
Yeah.
Go and rate us on Spotify. Leave us comments on Apple Podcast, feedback, reviews.
Yeah, that's always good.
We love it and we really value it and it does help us to grow and we really appreciate it. It does also give us a nice little boost and we go, oh, we love doing this.
Yeah, I like checking up on the Spotify reviews. But lovely reviews.
So thank you so much. So please continue to do that. And we will see you next week for episode 91.
See you next week.
See you next week.